that are presenting. Just go through that real quick. CertiPro Solutions, long-time Sage 100 VAR and a value-added reseller and a integrated solutions provider for Sage 100. Chances are, if you have unique needs in Sage 100, we really recommend talking to CertiPro with their expertise. But they really focus in on distribution with their advanced inventory cycle counts program and their e-commerce solutions. They have a lot of expertise specifically with Magento in addition to their advanced inventory cycle counting solution. They're based in Los Angeles. And if you have any unique needs with Sage 100, we just recommend you giving CertiPro a call and Simon a call and see if they might be able to coach you through your unique situation with all their expertise. And we also have American Payment Solutions with us. Patty Benitez, longtime veteran of the Sage 100 channel. They have a credit card processing solution that allows you to process credit cards through level 3 credit card processing. So it takes all the data in Sage 100, and the more data you have, as I understand it, the better credit card processing rate you can get. So they're very competitive with the other credit card processing solutions out there on the market, including the Sage credit card processing solution. So I recommend giving Patty a call if you'd like to save some money with your credit card processing. And we're going to be talking about a workflow today. We just reviewed all the advantages of the American Payment Solutions credit card processing interface. So, Simon, I'm going to let you go ahead and just at a high level describe how your CertiPro Advanced Inventory Cycle Counts works with Sage 100.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Adrienne. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the functionality of our automated inventory cycle count, and then I'll jump into more of a demo and show you how the functionality actually works in Sage. So our automated inventory cycle count, or AICC if you want to call it, is going to allow you to automate and basically simplify all of your inventory counts. So it basically covers your inventory accuracy. And we all know that maintaining high levels of accuracy is one of the best ways to identify the problem areas within your inventory. So the cycle counting program that I'm going to show you, like our AICC, eliminates the need for a lot of the physical inventory expenses. And that's where the main benefit or the return on investment comes in. So having said that, I'll jump right in. Adrienne, if you want to hand the screen over to me. Thanks so much, Adrienne, for the overview. Again, my name is Simon Quinn. I am the National Sales Manager for CertiPro Solutions. I'm going to cover AICC, or the Automated Inventory Cycle Count. So, adding on to what I started with, we know that every business unit within a company should really understand its impact on inventory accuracy. So many companies overlook a very simple truth. Managing the inventory accuracy effectively is key to a business success. So obviously you're going to have to count to determine the accuracy, as well as determining the areas that need additional evaluation. Now, I'm not knocking any accountants that may or may not be out there, but year-end physical inventories are tools that are used by accountants, but actually do very little for the accuracy of the inventory. So by performing regular cycle counts, you give yourself an opportunity to compare the quantities in Sage to the quantities counted. So this variance is a very powerful opportunity to identify where your inventory system is working well, where there's little variance, and where you may have a control issue that needs to be tightened up, where there's a high variance. So if you notice that your numbers are way off, you now have an opportunity to find out why the problem is happening and take corrective action. So keep in mind, using regular cycle counts allows you to take corrective action more frequently. So for example, if you perform monthly cycle counts, you now have 12 opportunities to fix problems versus 1 when performing annual physical inventory counts. So our AICC is going to configure all of this for you. So an important difference between cycle counting and taking the physical inventory annually So by having your warehouse staff perform cycle counts of segments of your inventory regularly, you actually negate the need for shutting down your operations for a weekend or a period of time just to make sure that your numbers are correct. So of course, closing down your business for any period of time is going to be costly. Paying your employees overtime to perform physical inventory counts can add up as well. So this is what our inventory cycle count is going to help you eliminate. You can imagine your day-to-day working life just being made easier by being better organized with a clearly defined logic to your inventory planning processes. You're going to have more time to focus on what really matters, for example, the A items, and you're going to have less physical inventory expenses. So having said that, I'm now going to move into Sage and show you how this functionality all works. So we'll open up Sage 100. And so you'll see that we've actually created the software under the inventory management physical count. I'll launch the inventory cycle count. And here you will see that this program is a single screen user interface. It's very simple to use, very easy to manage. The warehouses up here on the upper left-hand corner, they're identified by using a numeric warehouse code. So you can actually scroll through the warehouse codes if you have multiple warehouses using these arrows. Now each warehouse is going to have its own schedule. You can also configure what time you want to generate the cycle count per the warehouse, and you can set up automatic email notifications by warehouse. So I'm going to go ahead and select the warehouse. In this case, it'll be 00, and you can see that the inventory items associated with that warehouse now load into the middle grid. So let's talk about the grids. The top grid up here is the filtering section. The middle grid will represent the filtering choices that you make and shows you what you have assigned into the actual cycle count itself. And the bottom is a summary based on your setup. It's going to show you, for example, how many items per day you will actually be counting. So as we look through the filtering section in the top grid here, you'll see how if I select based on whatever filtering choices I select, here I have all valuations, I have all product types, I have all procurement. By selecting or deselecting any of these, you'll see that the middle grid populates or adds or takes away items based on the selection that's made. Very simple to use. There's also if you wanted to drill down even further, there's other choices you can go on the left side here. So if I click on select the field and I want to look at, let's say I want to look at items that are greater than, for example, a high volume item. I want to look at items greater than $1,000. So now you'll see that, actually this is the actual cost. I'm going to take a look at, I'll close this one out. And I want to look at standard unit. I want to look at prices that are greater than $1,000. And we'll have that filter also. So you can see that the items automatically populate down here. So once you filter down to the specific set of items that you want to take a look at, you can now go ahead and perform your cycle count update. So I've already selected the items that are showing greater than $1,000. Over here, you'll see the actual item. If I select it, all the information on that item is going to be there. So now I want to assign them to an inventory cycle category and define how many times I want them to be actually counted. So before I jump into doing that, I kind of want to cover some of the abbreviations up here, just so that makes sense for you. So here we have the YCC, or up here, as you'll see, the yearly cycle count. So what that means is basically upon implementation or when you add an item, it's going to have a value of -1, meaning that you have not yet touched those items. So when you move them to a 0, it means that you have now added them to the inventory and they're going to be counted. So you can also have a number between 1 to 52, meaning that you can assign an item to be counted once a week, once a month, or whatever interval you require, 52 meaning the number of weeks within the year. So the update's very simple. You just hit the corner, and it's going to highlight all of the items, and then you can head down to the count frequency here and assign a number. So in this case, I'm going to go and click through, and I'm just going to assign these for 12, basically once a month. So I can also do this line item by line item, or just manually select a single line item and assign a value that way. Very important, you can actually import any of these items into Excel or export them out to Excel. Jumping back to these other abbreviations here, so RC stands for remaining count, and this is another powerful tool that allows you to set up items that are going to be discontinued. So we know that some items are not going to be in your inventory perpetually, so this basically allows you to define how many more times you're actually going to want to have that item counted. So, and once you do so, it's going to automatically fall off the cycle count process. So it's going to update after the remaining count expires. It's going to update the yearly cycle count to 0. So in the summary count down here, once you've done all the configurations, it's basically going to display, based on my setup, how many items I actually need to count per day. So I can actually see what the actual count number is. Jumping across the top here to these other abbreviations, there's FCNT, which is forced count next time. We have FCAT, which is forced count all the time, and then we have hold. So for hold, in every warehouse, we know that there's scenarios where you're going to be pulling certain items temporarily to hold, and you don't want those items to be included in the count until the item is actually released back into the inventory, and that's how you would manage that here. So for the forced count next time, if you actually find a discrepancy and want it to be resolved as soon as possible, the item in question might be scheduled for a count 2 months from now, but you don't want to wait. So by checking this box, when you generate the cycle count, the item is going to be included. Jumping up to the upper right-hand corner, we have the scheduler. So this is where, as you can see, we're simply using the task scheduler from Sage 100. And here's where you can actually schedule the days of the week that you actually want to run the actual cycle count itself. Clicking on Active Warehouse, this is where you would actually select the warehouse, whether you have one or multiple, and allows you to manage them. Basically, either have them enabled or not. Clicking on the options screen, this is where you'd actually configure the email notifications for when the cycle count is generated, who's actually going to receive the actual spreadsheet in the warehouse once that count has been generated to them. There's a number of different options here as far as the generation goes that you can check or uncheck. So for example, YCC, rollover YCC count, allows you to basically, if you have A, B, or C items, once all the A items have been counted, this will automatically pull the B category into the count to maintain the same number of items to be counted per day. We also have exception days. So if you wanted to manage the calendar, basically it'll tell you when the cycle count should be skipped. And these can be holidays or vacation days, for example. The holiday type will apply to all warehouses, and a vacation type will apply to a single warehouse. Now, while the cycle count is going to be generated automatically based on how you configure it, you can also do a manual you can generate a physical count manually at any given time. So once the cycle count has been actually created, why don't we go ahead and take a look and see what, let's take a look at the spreadsheet that's delivered via email to the employees or actually to the assigned warehouse team. So as we open this up, they'll get an email, and attached will be a CSV file that tells them what needs to be counted. So here you have the item code, the description, the bin location, and the date it was actually last counted. So they can actually take this and go through and do the physical count and note that here. Now, if you have a ScanCo or if you have scanners or ScanCo or multi-bin, this is actually going to be automatically populated into the scanner and can be handled and managed that way. So once the item is scanned, it will actually feed right back into Sage. So once they have the actual count done, we're going to go back here, and we're actually going to go into the physical count entry program. I'm going to select the warehouse, and I'll take a look at the lines. And here's the couple of items that I have actually selected to be counted, and this is where I would actually go ahead and put in the physical count. So then once you go through all these steps and you do the physical count and you enter everything into the physical count entry, you actually want to know what are the results here. Basically, how accurate is the inventory? So for this reason, we've created an explorer, which is called the CPS Inventory Cycle Count History. If I open that up here, this is the place that you'll actually find the items that not only have a discrepancy, but also the items that have been counted throughout the year that have actually been accurate. So here you can look into how many times, how many items are being counted each day, what was the counted quantity, and additional information. It is completely customizable. And for those users that are familiar with Explorer, you can actually drag and drop fields to use filters to analyze the data. You can also export any of this out to Excel. So lastly, I want to touch on one of the most common questions, which is basically one of the most popular questions that we get as we go through these demos is, does the inventory cycle count actually freeze the items? Because we know the word freezing or freeze items is actually used in the physical count worksheet, the print worksheet. ICC, the AICC here does not freeze the items when you're going through the process. The key here is to actually capture the difference based on what's on hand and what's been counted, and that's the key piece. Finding the difference between what's on hand and what's been counted. So that wraps up our demo for our automated inventory cycle count. I'm going to pass this back to Adrian. Again, I know we're going to have some questions at the end of this, and I'll be available to answer some of those. And also, if you want to contact me directly, I'd be happy to set up a demo to do a much more in-depth look at your current situation and how this software, this management tool, if you will, can help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Adrian, for helping us put this webinar together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making time for us today and giving us the opportunity to provide a presentation for both of our solutions. As Simon was explaining, it's not just a matter of keeping track of your inventory, it's the accuracy that you want to make sure that you have so that you can provide the best level of service to your customers. With inventory cycle count, you now have the accuracy, which will help you with the automation and compliance. And with that, as far as credit card processing, will also help you to get the better rates.
And Patty, can I interrupt you just real quick? Your GoToWebinar pane is showing, so I'm wondering if you might be able to drag that down, or do that. There you go. I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you, Adrian, for pointing that out. I'm known for that. I'm infamous for leaving that webinar pane open. So thank you for that, Adrian. So one of the items that we provide at American Payment Solutions is the ability to obtain the best rates available in the industry. And I'm not just saying the rates that we can offer as a processor. I'm saying the rates that you can actually obtain directly from the card brands, which we will pass along to you. And this has to do mainly with level 3 processing. Level 3 processing is available within the United States for any US-based company that processes business-to-business or business-to-government transactions. Now, Visa and MasterCard offer this program. In exchange, they require several fields every time you process a transaction be delivered to them. So these are the fields that you see on the screen. Now, most merchants will say, I really don't have time to type in all of these different fields, even though you're guaranteeing a better rate. I really don't have time to have my entry clerks enter these fields. So what have we done? We've actually automated the process to the point where anytime you process a transaction, we will deliver the fields on your behalf to Visa and MasterCard, guaranteeing the best rates. So just so you get an idea, typically the rates for the standard rate would be 2.85. With level 3 processing, the rates can go down to 1.65. And based on the volume of the transaction, the rates can go as low as 0.03%. And you did hear that correctly. That's how low the rates can go. And what do you have to do as a merchant in order to get these rates? Nothing whatsoever, so long as you're processing with American Payment Solutions. Now, we have been able to save our merchants over $100,000 a year by simply processing their transactions through level 3. So this is the key, and this is the foundation of my presentation today, mainly to point out the fact that our partnership with CertiPro and with their cycle count solution will help you to obtain the fields that you see here, many of them, so that we can take those fields and supply them to Visa and MasterCard on your behalf and get you the level of savings you're looking for, which, by the way, once we provide you with the level of savings, we can also provide you with resources that will help you purchase CertiPro's solution. Here's a good example. So you can see I have an analysis review on the screen. This particular merchant has this type of volume per month. You can see it's 255,000, a little over that per month. And first, what we like to do is walk you through your existing rates and fees. So a lot of processors will recommend either flat rates or tiered rates. We typically recommend Interchange Plus, and I'm going to explain why. With flat rates, it's easy. You understand the rate. You get billed the same amount every month. However, you're not able to take advantage of level 3 processing because you are actually under contract with your processor for the flat rate. The other would be the tiered rates. So you could have a mid-qualified, a fully qualified, or a non-qualified transaction. Now, they will guarantee the very lowest rates, but the processor has full control over what bracket each one of your transactions will fall under. And guess what we see in every single statement? They fall under non-qualified, therefore you get charged the higher rate. Once again, you're not able to take advantage of level 3 processing. Interchange Plus is the most transparent means for you to process. Why? Because the processor will promise to pass the hard costs from the card brands directly to you and then charge you a rate and a transaction fee. So you know for a fact that you're not going to get charged more than what the card brands are actually charging, except for the rate and the transaction fee. If you see the card brands here, the price is actually much higher. We lowered it because we are using interchange. Now, what happened in this particular scenario? We were able to save this merchant 15%, which adds up to over $12,000 a year in savings. This is perfectly enough for you to purchase a third-party product of your preference. In this case, we would, of course, recommend it for CertiPro and their cycle count. How do you obtain an analysis review? Very simple. All you have to do is send us your current statement. And we know that most of you see your statement and, quite frankly, are not sure what exactly is going on with the statement. There is no insight to the bank fees, no visibility to the types of cards. So you have no idea if you're receiving corporate credit cards. You have no idea what the actual rate is per transaction. With us, that completely changes. This is a good example of what our statements would look like. You will continue to receive a summary, but then, as you can see on the far right-hand side, we will itemize each transaction, indicating exactly what type of card was being used to pay and the percentage being charged for that card, along with your transaction fee. So we are very transparent. Interchange Plus allows us to be that way. Okay. So now that I've explained level 3, let's just jump into Sage 100 and what credit card processing will look like within Sage 100. While Simon was explaining his solution, I basically started a sales order, but I'd like to begin with, once again, reiterating the fact that we will offer automated level 3. So you don't have to worry about keying in the 13 fields. You may have to key in, for example, the purchase order, but that's about it if you're using a purchase order. Other than that, we take care of the remaining fields. Our credit card processing solution is very straightforward. If anybody is already using Sage Payments, it's identical in a sense that you won't have to restructure any of your existing processes. We offer not only credit card processing, but also ACH, and you can turn on either or. If a user has certain security settings as far as adding a new card on the fly, editing a card, or deleting a card, that type of security setting will follow with our integration. If you do have credit cards in the system and you're using Sage Payments, we also offer a migration utility, so you will not have to rekey in all of the different credit cards that you have already set up in Sage. So for those of you that have not used Sage in the past for credit card processing, this is basically where Sage allows you to enter as many credit cards per customer as you need to, and you can use as many card brands as you need to as well. It's very simple. You can see that once you set up your payment type, you're able to create the credit card information. In my case, I'm not given permission to add new cards, but I'm able to edit. So I can change the, for example, the expiration date or the billing address. The email address under the billing address for the card will receive a receipt every time you complete a transaction. So you need not worry about sending your customers the receipts anymore. We will do that for you. Now, there are different areas in which you can process credit card transactions. And let me just start a brand new sales order. I'll close out of this one. You can process transactions within sales order entry, sales order invoice data entry, and you can also apply payments directly to existing invoices through accounts receivable cash receipts. Most of what you'll see in this presentation is very standard Sage functionality. I will point out the areas in which we are different. Most of the time when you're processing a sales order, you might want to pre-authorize a transaction. With our integration, you have the flexibility to either pre-authorize or capture directly at the sales order level. So let's just go with an authorization right now. I'm not exactly sure what the freight amount should be, so I'm going to leave it empty for now and pre-authorize my transaction with the item total only. If I go to payments, the credit card information that I chose as a default in customer maintenance will auto-populate for me. And once again, given the security settings, I will be able to switch to another card, add a card on the fly, or completely delete the information. So if the customer is telling me, I'd rather you use a separate card, I don't want to use any of these, I can go ahead and enter a brand new card. You have the option, like I said, to pre-authorize or make it a direct deposit sale. Now, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and simply pre-authorize. So I'm going to change the screen. Notice how when I said payment and it's a pre-authorization, it will show the screen this way. But if you decide that it's always going to be a direct capture, the screen will change for you, making it easy for you to transition to a deposit. I'd like to also point out the fact that you can process individual transactions or process in batches. So let's go ahead and accept the payment. And I'm just going to go ahead and pre-authorize $84. All I have to do is click on the submit button. Notice how the credit card information that resides in Sage will auto-populate in the ApSPays window. At this point, I can go ahead and key in the validation code or simply bypass the field. This is something that you can preset when you originally set up American Payment Solutions as a security option. And if you decide that you want to make it a required field, the user will be forced to type in the 3-digit or 4-digit code prior to submitting the actual transaction. In my case, I'm not required, so I'm just going to go ahead and submit. But before I click submit, let me just point out the fact that we are referencing Sage's sales order number and then pre-filling the amount of the transaction. Also, I'd like to underline the fact that pre-authorizations with the American Payment Solutions integration can be valid for up to 30 days. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard correctly. We know that every other processor in the industry will limit you to 7 days. We have extended a pre-authorization length of time to be valid to up to 30 days. So this is, I know, crucial for many of the manufacturing companies. It gives you enough time to get the items together and then prepare them for delivery. And if it's going to take you 20 to 25 days, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and click on submit. The transaction is going through our gateway. We're going to verify that all of the information you provided is a match. If it isn't, we will have pop-up windows indicating exactly what was not a match, the address, the CVV code, and then it's up to you. When you originally set up our integration, do you want to stop user in their tracks and make them go back and fix anything that shows is a discrepancy, or do you want them to just continue and click OK? Now, my transaction has been pre-authorized, and you'll notice this transaction ID appeared on the screen. I'd like to show you briefly where the transaction ID came from. Let me point out the fact that the transaction ID is ending in 482, and this is sales order number 206. This is actually a good time to show you and introduce you to our partner portal. I'm sorry, ApSPays portal. So you can see the ApSPays portal is very straightforward. You can process transactions directly from the portal. You will have to enter all of the required fields if you decide to do so, versus in Sage, you already have all of these fields pre-filled. And this goes and will apply to all of the different types of transactions. You can also set up repetitive invoicing if you need to. And we also provide you with an immense amount of reports. A very robust reporting functionality is available to you with thousands of reports available. One thing to mention is the fact that we will also set you up to auto batch. And here's something else that I'd like to underline. If you batch out by 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will have the funds available in your bank account the next morning by 8 a.m. That is 12 to 11-hour funding, which is available to you simply by processing through American Payment Solutions. We will set you up to auto batch. You can send the batch report to as many recipients as you'd like to. Now notice in my report, and I just chose today, for example, there are several types of transactions happening. I have card sales that are still in progress, some that are approved, and look at this, there are some that are still pending capture, so it's just a card authorization. There's also card validation. Now what we will do when you process a transaction within Sage, we will give you a bird's eye view of the transaction right on the screen. The name of the customer, the email address that will be receiving the receipt, the first and last 4 digits of the card, and the transaction amount. Remember our transaction ID ending in 482? This is where it was generated. And our sales order is 206 from Sage. So while we process the transaction in Sage, we're compiling the level 3 data that is required for you to obtain the very lowest rates available. And this is exactly what we did here. You'll notice that we're not only providing you with credit card information, shipping information, but also sales order information. And in most cases, we will also show you the line level detail of the invoice. In my case, it was switched off, but you can definitely show the line items, all required for level 3 processing. So let's go back to our transaction. It has been pre-authorized, as I mentioned before, and let's just assume we're ready to invoice it. In this case, you follow standard Sage functionality and just recall your sales order and then ship all. So I'm going to process our transaction and finalize it. And remember, we weren't sure about shipping fees, and now we are. Let's just say $16. We'll make it an even 100. If I go to the payments tab, everything will be grayed out. Why? Because I'm not doing anything outside of Sage functionality. I'm basically following Sage's guideline, and now all I have to do is update. Once I update, it will post not only to my Sage modules, it will also update my portal. Now, I'm not going to continue with the update because it does take a few seconds, so I'll just jump out. I do want to point out the fact that I probably should just get out of this thing. I do want to point out the fact that you can also process transactions within accounts receivable cash receipts. And if you're integrated to a shipping carrier such as Starship, you can also process transactions within shipping data entry. So now let's just go back to the additional benefits that you can receive with American Payment Solutions. Many of the items that you see on the screen have been reported by many of our merchants. Now you'll notice on the left side, I'm listing the challenges, and on the right side, the solutions that we propose. I'm going to focus on the solutions. One of the first things that we like to do is educate our merchants to understand their current merchant statements. Why? Because we want them to know how to keep any processor on their toes and how to obtain the best rates available in the industry. Our promise to our merchants is definitely to provide the most transparent merchant statements, help them understand where the fees are coming from, who makes the money where, and where exactly there is room for savings. We guarantee our rates in writing. Many processors will give you the best rates to have you switch to them, and then the rates will creep up on you down the line. With us, you have the guarantee that your rates will never increase for the life of your contract. We also offer free PCI support. Many processors use third-party companies and will charge you $35 a month and $75 a year, even if you're PCI compliant, because they want to pay their third-party company. We have a fully dedicated team in-house, which will either help you become PCI compliant or help you remain PCI compliant. Level 3 processing, as I explained it to you, is completely automated with us. Many processors will say, sure, we have level 3, but you'll have to type in several fields in order to obtain the better rates. We do not charge for the credit card processing module, installation, implementation, training, maintenance, or support. Please make a note of that. I know that when you call the other processors, they will try to give you information that is not accurate and will tell you that there is no way that anybody else can process in Sage, that there will be a charge. That is completely inaccurate, and we can provide you with references that will show you that we have many, many clients processing through Sage right now. We offer very simple gateway fees. There's a $10 statement fee and a $5 gateway fee. That's $15 a month. It never increases no matter what your volume. And then the 12-hour funding, as I mentioned it to you before. We have a dedicated support team, which is also on site. Now, here's what I like to mention about this. As a consumer, I love to be able to call a vendor and speak to a live human being. That is exactly what you get from our support team. 24/7, 365 days a year, live support, guaranteed. We offer online management and reporting, as I mentioned before, which basically offers thousands of reports, and our project managers usually walk you through it when we initially install the system for you. We have a very streamlined installation process. We do hundreds of Sage installations per week. So our process is tested and approved from A to Z. It literally takes us 10 minutes to install our software, 20 minutes to set it up. Training can take as long as you'd like, although I have to tell you there is not a large learning curve if you're already processing with Sage. So keep us in mind when it comes to installation. We try to make it as seamless and painless as possible. We also offer American Express Opt Blue. So when we create the batch report and deliver the funds to your bank account, it includes all card brands. Makes reconciliation a breeze. You don't have to worry about checking the different statements anymore. We offer the ability to process in the United States and Canada. Soon we are opening market in Puerto Rico, Africa, Australia, and Europe. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have a migration utility. So if you are processing with Sage, we will move all of your credit card information over to our vault. We offer a multitude of equipment options. The equipment is state-of-the-art, absolutely no charge to you. We will set it up, maintain it, and support it for you at no charge. Last but not least, we help with cancellation fees. If you are processing with Sage Payments, we will pay 100% of your cancellation fees. Any other processor we will discuss with you, but 9 out of 10 times it's also 100%. So that's pretty much all I had, Adrian. There are a couple of other integrations that we work with. If anybody would like to move forward with working with us, these are the steps to follow. You simply submit your statements. We will analyze them and provide you with a presentation of our findings and savings. We will then send you an application. Once the application is complete, we will have our project managers contact you and go through a mini process review of your existing credit card processing procedures. They will try to mimic it onto our system. And then they will talk to you about the different features that we have in addition to what you're accustomed to. We typically do like to involve your Sage reseller only because we want to make sure that there are no hidden customizations that might affect credit card processing. But other than that, these are the steps, and I'm happy to help anybody. I do want to challenge the audience today. We're offering $500 to anyone that offers to allow us to analyze their statements, and we're not able to beat or match your current processor. So that $500 is yours so long as we do not beat or match your current processor. And with that, Adrian, I'd like to hand it back over to you.
Awesome, Patty. Great presentation. Thank you, Simon and Patty, for that. I would like to launch a poll real quick while we get into the questions, while we're collaborating here. We have a few questions. Let's see. We have a question from Rachel. Thank you, Rachel, for your question. Question for ApSPays. I was going to use another company, but Sage said I would have to get my customers to give me the credit card numbers again. Is that true?
Absolutely not. We have a migration utility which basically takes the tokens from Sage's vault and moves them to our vault securely. So you will not have to type in your credit card data again. Guaranteed.
And Simon, this question is for you. It looks like we might have a Sage 500 customer on the line. Does your automated inventory cycle counts work for 500? Oh, I think I accidentally put him on mute real quick. Let me unmute him. Simon, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I muted you because I heard some background noise, so I took the liberty of muting you. Now I'm unmuting you.
To answer the question, yes, absolutely. What you saw today also worked for Sage 500. I'd be happy, to get more information to that individual and set up a separate demo to show you the 500 piece of it. But yes, it does.
And we have another question here. Okay. So, Paula, thank you for your question. With the automated inventory cycle count solution, it sounds like you still have to have humans go out into the warehouse and count each item. Does this program work with scanners? If so, how does that work? We want to get a program that will have scanners so we don't have to count each piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. So to answer the question regarding scanners, yes. So if you have ScanCo or if you have multi-bin, the actual file that I showed, which was the the Excel spreadsheet or the CSV, that will automatically go into a scanner. So it'll populate automatically into the scanner, and the warehouse employee can go through and scan the items directly through that way, and it will input directly into Sage. So if you have a scanning a solution in place, it populates into there automatically. So it takes the spreadsheet away.
And what if they don't have a scanning solution? Can you help them acquire one or suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. If we wanted to, engage directly, I'd be happy to go in more detail offline as to what the solutions and what the recommendations would be. I'd be happy to do that.
And we have a question for price for you, Simon. What is the cost of automated inventory cycle counts, and what is entailed in the implementation?
So it's a subscription-based product. So it's based on an annual subscription, and it's based on the number of warehouses. So for example, let's just take if you have one warehouse, it'll break out to being $95 per month. And there's a one-time activation, which includes the setup, the training, whatever's needed to get it up and running. One-time activation of $1,200. Additional warehouses above and beyond that are $25. So your fundamental first warehouse is $95, and it's billed annually.
And just a reminder to the audience, if you do have questions, go ahead and click on that question mark button and key in your question, and I will announce a question. And it looks like I want to see how we're doing on the polls here. I do have a poll up, and I do see that 60% of you have voted. If you could just take a second to vote here, that would be awesome. We're at 65. And Patty, Simon, do you guys have any closing comments that you'd like to add? I'm not seeing any other questions coming in at the time.
No, as I had wrapped up, I'll go first, Patty, if that's okay. Just wrapping up, again, if you wanted to get additional information on any of the CertiPro products, and specifically the automated inventory cycle counts, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can set up a personal demo and go through, show you how it would actually work for your organization, learn a little bit more about your operations and how that would actually apply. It's a great management tool for that, and I'd be happy to get more information out to you. Thank you.
And Patty.
Thanks, Simon. Sure, Adrian, Simon, I really wanted to thank you for allowing me to participate. I did want to mention, it's in the news, we do also integrate with ScanForce and their mobile solution. So if you're looking to accept credit cards using a mobile solution, definitely let us know and we'll be happy to connect you. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you and taking the opportunity to provide you with the free analysis of your current rates and fees.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll and share the results here. And then I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to flash up the contact information. There you go. Should be able to see that. So that's how you get in touch with Patty and Simon. And thank you, you two. Great presentation today. It's always nice to see how you can enhance Sage 100 and get better credit card processing rates and be more efficient in the warehouse. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar. Everyone, we're a little bit early. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day today to join us, and we'll be back in touch with you. We hope to see you on our future webinar. I will be sending the recording of this presentation out to everyone who attended and registered, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.